Well, good afternoon. It's Caroline Stevens, Seeking the Truth. I've got the greatest of pleasure in introducing you to Kellie Cottam. I'm streaming live on Facebook, and we're doing a recording for Caroline Stevens, Seeking the Truth YouTube channel a little bit later on. That will get uploaded shortly. Kellie, hello. We finally meet at last.
We do, in complete imperfection, as always today I am. I usually have a hat on my head, and because I'm diagnosed with Asperger's, and I feel very self-conscious, but this is the gap, isn't it? And I think this is what we're all talking about. It's about that gap in standards. So your standards are certainly much higher than mine today. And,
that comes from being a teacher. I was a teacher for a little while, and before that I was a manager for an insurance, a broker's, and so, you know, I was brought up working in the finance world, and you were not allowed to reveal the tops of your shoulders. Do you remember that?
I went to Egypt, and I didn't realise how cultures are geographical, because everybody was rushing to cover my shoulders. Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah, and now as you get older, you want your shoulders covered. But anyway, I digress. So, Kellie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Okay, well, I'm living down in the south of the UK, here in Portsmouth at the moment, where I was born, but I wasn't raised here. I ended up sort of being in around Headley Down, Guildford. It was the most sort of stability that I sort of have, but I wasn't living the normal living with my mum and my dad and having nans and granddads. I was considered the dysfunctional family, and it was at a time and in period when dysfunction didn't exist in the perfect world that people were able to maintain, because when you control the media, when you control the papers, you can make things seem better than they are, and you can make things appear as you like. So in the times when, say, my mum was born, and I was born to a mother who just turned 16, she was pregnant, it was a time when it was the Magdalenes, and children were soft to dominance. 15-year-olds just could not walk on the streets pregnant. They would have stones thrown at them, condemned and very bullied. But my family were a divorced family. However, when I was at school, I seemed to be the only person that had stepmom and, you know, the diverse family that comes with it. So very soon in my life.
Can I just interrupt you? It was a little bit broken. I'm hoping it will all settle down, the recording. So did your mum have to marry your father?
Well, this is yeah, that's how they saved me. I was actually going for adoption, and it was all going through. I was taken from my mum, and it was actually my nan. My nan was the first sort of year to come through and go, no, my granddaughter is not being taken away, we're not doing this. And my nan sort of stood that ground. But it was a difficult time between my mum and my nan as well. You know, it's a difficult time for anybody when there was a teenage mother. But then my parents got married when I was 3. So literally just after my first birthday, they got married. That annulled the adoption, and they lived as mum, dad and me for 6 months.
So that was probably a long time. You can't remember any of that.
That was, yeah, I was 3. I've heard lots of different stories, but from that, unfortunately, it wasn't a time where we had social services. And what would have happened to me? I would have been passed off to something like the Magdalene Sisters in a convent, and I would be one of them stories that we're all hearing about now, all those stories that have come out through the child abuse inquiry, which went, sorry, not the child abuse inquiry, the adoption inquiry, which went on very secretly in the end. They actually hid the inquiry. And as we know, so for those that don't know, basically, my time and era, we went through what was called historic forced adoption. Now, people are only just starting to hear about the coin and term forced adoption, which Ian Joseph has spoken about for a long time. Now, I know your audience may not understand where I'm coming from. And if I just sort of say, I was born with a condition that nobody understood. I was born with a condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which basically means that I don't reproduce collagen in the same way as everybody else, and I sublocks and dislocate my joints. I don't know if it's something that your camera can see, but you might just see my knuckles moving around slightly there.
Oh, right, okay.
And then on my finger joints, they will pop out. And no, I don't wear a mask. I have vocal cord dysfunction as well. So basically, I came out of the womb a very floppy baby, and unfortunately, I didn't come into the world where I had parents that were, and I don't think anybody comes into the world until maybe this generation, where when we bring children in the world, we're not asking what do they want to do when they grow up. We're actually just raising children to be who they are and to just love life and the world on a daily basis, rather than this caged education and institutions that we have, which come out of the same era. What people don't understand is we're in a change of generational beliefs and values, because at the end of the day, we as human beings and spiritual beings should be, because we've been in government and sort of religious and royal battle for so many years, and it's only now that people are starting to think about the game of chess and go, hang on a minute, there's kings, queens, knights, pawns, what's going on? It's only now that people are even actually understanding that our monarchy is actually German. It's only now that people are starting, instead of having history forced down them in school, where we used to go, Henry VIII had very many wives, he liked to chop and change, try again now. My headmaster, and it wasn't until now I've understood it. But people have never understood, and please forgive me, I know that each person that has a platform stands for a political party. I don't represent any political party because I don't believe in parties over people. And unfortunately, what parties do is they represent a very minority class or divide. So we already exist in top, middle and bottom, where somebody like me outside, when testing gets called a mere peasant and a mere, well, please, darling, my great-grandfather is a lord too, sweetheart, so I can go down as plum as I like, or Dawdy Cottam Pt1, come down here in the ground, mate, where we can deal with the homeless and everything.
Well,
yeah,
it's
funny.
We can I say something, because you've got me thinking, because I was going to interview you fully, but you've got me going into my little area of politics. And you see, I only entered politics because I went to this meeting and saw just ordinary people just like me, and really caring about the country. And my friend wanted a lift to the meeting, this party meeting, and they were asking for volunteers to stand for the council. And so I'm sat there, because it was too far to go home and come back and collect her. So I'm sat there reading the paper. And then I saw it was like a spiritual thing. I kid you not. It was like this, almost like a fog in the room. And of course, there's no smoking in pubs these days. And they were saying, is there anybody else that would like to stand and take our country back? And I just saw my hand going up in the air, and I'm thinking, what is going on here? And I stood for council, and I wanted to do the right thing, but it didn't float my boat. It's just talking about lampposts and pavements, because I walked the streets, dare I say it, with two guys. They put me with two guys in their mid-60s, about 70, And those two guys, one of them had lots of ailments. He could hardly walk. And they both helped me. They told me what the EU was all about. And I just thought, this is just absolutely outrageous. And there's no point in talking about lampposts and paving stones, because the big action is out there. So I understand. And you know, it was so hard standing for parties, because I had to fund myself, and I'm a housewife.
Yeah.
So you see, the ordinary people can't get represented anyway. And you know, what I did was I had two people who said, we like Caroline, we think she'd make a good MP. And one gave 2,500, I think, and somebody else gave 5,000. And then the rest of the money, because it costs, over £10,000 to run a campaign, and all the petrol you're using. And you know, how can an ordinary person do that? And I had to fundraise the rest. And then have to find people to leaflet. I can't pay them. And so on. And then you get to the general election, and the big boys, they can afford to put big newspaper articles in. And so I had to blow the rest of my budget to try to match them. But my little advert was like this, and they had like full pages in there. And so you can even see my advert, you know. So the little people don't get represented.
But this is the thing with everything as well. It's all about PR and marketing, isn't it? It doesn't matter whether Bill Gates wants to vaccinate you all and has to create, a massive big fear-mongering campaign, because it's about a campaign, isn't it? I have a product. I want you to have that product. Therefore, I have to market that product to you. So therefore, we have to create a problem. And that's the problem with our country right now. Take Boris Johnson, for example. Now, I'm NLP. For those that don't know, my degree is in psychology. I went into coaching, and I finally came in as an interventionalist. And this is my intervention on Great Britain. I've been doing it for 10 years, and I haven't finished yet. So the end result is near, we hope. But one of the main things is that I've just completely lost my
So you've just gone in for, you've studied neuro-linguistic programming.
Take Boris Johnson for an example, and this is why I brought Challenge Britain, which then becomes Step Up Britain, into place in the first place. He's talking about social distancing. Well, I want to talk about personal boundaries. He talks about disability. I want to talk about being enabled. He talks about problems. I want to talk about solutions. But in order to actually move to solution, we have to actually identify that there is a problem. Now, the challenge being that, go back to the era that I was in before, I was also an 11-year-old kid with a tear down the side of her face. Not only was I suffering from body pain that people were listening to me, I was also struggling with the world around me, but I was also struggling to tell people that you can't stick your penis inside me. Sorry to be vulgar in those words, I know we said no language, but penis, vagina. Penis
Did you say age 11?
Has become a word that people can't say these days for some reason. It's a very natural, and it's the most natural part of our body. But it was a time at that time as well where children that were coming out about sexual, physical, emotional abuse were told to shut up. Shut up, that doesn't happen. No, your uncle doesn't do that. No, your dad doesn't do that. No, Peter, Paul or John down the road doesn't do that. And certainly doesn't a Sarah Louise or a Linda, because women just don't do these things. Now, what then happens is people then want held accountable. And that could even be, you go and get me your shoes then and I'll get your shoes, darling. That could even just be as easy as, I remember back in 2007, I was talking to a friend of mine who was the producer for the BBC and Sky Sports. And I said to him, look at all them dreams that we never had. Why can't we bring Jimmy Savile back? And he was like, that will never happen. Now, this isn't coming from a woman who's going, hey, let's put him on the spotlight and let everybody bring the arrows. Yeah. I was thinking, I never got to fulfill my dreams. You know, I never got these dreams of mine. What's it you're after? Sorry, sweet, I've got my two kids here. So, you want to do some daddy arts? Daddy's doing art. Well, prime example, I have 2 little boys here who just want to see their dad today. And oh, just 2 seconds. Sorry, guys. I can't get into the art cupboard, darling, because it's all... I've got absolute mayhems of projects going on here. And one of the challenges, I still don't have people around me who believe that the pain that I'm in, people who don't believe that the trauma that I live with, not only because of my EDS, but because of different things that have happened along the ways in my life. Now, I've actually had the help, and I did my degree in psychology purely because I wasn't willing to just become a homeless person and sit down on the streets and beg for help. Do you know what I mean? 2 seconds, sweetheart, because Mummy's on the radio. Yeah, what are you trying to get out? You can't move the fridge tumble dryer, I'm afraid. So take my son, who just 2 seconds. If you want to just talk while I...
Right, I need to fill in the gaps. So Kellie told me before we went on air that she's got 6 children, and her eldest is 24, and she's still got 2 boys at home. And the boys apparently are being quiet all day until we ring each other to do this show. So Kellie,
I'll be 2 seconds.
Right, I've got to fill in the gaps. Has anybody got any questions? It's always the way, isn't it? Never work with children.
There we go.
What have you done? Lock them in the... You should have locked them in the cupboard. Oh no, don't say that.
Oh no, now don't say things like that, because I said that I might smash the Xbox or kill the kids. I haven't seen 2 of my children since.
Seriously? So Kellie, you were sexually abused from what you were just saying. How old were you?
Oh, bless his cotton socks. If he actually cries, unfortunately, I'm just trying so I can keep the signal as I walk around.
Are we still
like
live?
this is, it might actually more people come out to make people realise that you don't have to be perfect, and things do go wrong, and you don't have to wear makeup, and you don't have to have your hair done, and children do cry. They do want your attention as a mother when you're trying to do something, and that doesn't make you bad, because I've had all of these things. I put my career before my children. Well, that wasn't the case. I was trying to find a way as a mother to provide for a level that means that my children can go snowboarding. That right now I could, prior to a radio station, be able to fly Amber over to Trinidad and say, can you take the boys out for an hour? Now, we live in a world that is based on basic fundamentals. You want to go outside? Yeah! Go on then, let's see what we can do with this signal. Let's see if we can do this, just to head downstairs into the garden quickly. Let's see if this will work. Otherwise, children will keep...
You've got a secure garden, yeah? Oh dear. I think we could be losing the reception. The screen has frozen. Kellie's gone off into the garden with the children. Gosh. I think we've lost the Wi-Fi. I'm sorry, folks. I'll just hang on for another minute or so. And maybe I can get Kellie back a bit later on. But I have got a show at 5:30 with Mike, with the 12 children. And I think she's gone. So I'm going to love you and leave you. Sorry, Kellie's just frozen on me on Skype. She's obviously gone outside the Wi-Fi range. So I'll catch up with you again. Hopefully I can catch her again before 5:30. Take care. See you later. Bye for now.